We didn't have deficits. We had surpluses. We were paying down the debt. So that's what that chart says.
I stand corrected. And then when President Obama took office, we were facing an $8 trillion 10-year deficit. Right. It must be entirely frustrating to you. It must have been frustrating during that 8-year period to watch what happened to the surpluses left at the end of the Clinton administration.
I mean, I don't exaggerate when I say it breaks my heart. I mean, I think that you look at what drove the deficit up. Some of it was beyond our control in terms of the economy. When there's a recession, there's a loss of revenue, and there's certain spending that you have. Some of it was because of wars, which you don't necessarily choose, but if you go to war, that's an extraordinary circumstance. Some of it was because we just suspended the basic common sense of paying for what we did. And we had tax cuts and spending increases that weren't paid for. And that is what's created the long-term problem we're dealing with now. These other things correct themselves. The economy is recovering, and we're going to see revenues and spending get back to their more normal levels. The wars will come to an end. We're pulling our troops home from Iraq. The other creates a problem that we have to deal with.
And that's why I'm grateful that you've taken on this new challenge. And this budget, I think, reflects, and we all agree, government has got to live within its means. But we must remain mindful that we are coming out of the most severe recession in our lifetimes, and we've got to build on the economic foundation for the future. And that's why I'm particularly focused on job creation and jobs and our workforce. My district is home to one of the largest universities in the country, and a lot of community colleges and private universities, and I am 100% behind you on what this budget does to maintain the maximum Pell Grant for students. It remains at $5,550 for students. You all know that the Pell Grant helps over 9 million students across America afford college. Now, over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of confusion in the press, however, over what's happening with the Pell Grant. It appears that President Obama maintains the maximum Pell Grant at $5,550 for 2012 for students, and you pay for it by cutting the relatively new year-round Pell Grant that allowed some students to qualify for 2 Pell Grants. I wasn't aware that they could do that. Are you also aware that in contrast to what the President's budget is trying to do, right now on the floor of the House, the Republican continuing resolution has proposed cuts in the Pell Grant by $845 per student for 2011. I think that's moving in the wrong direction. We want to ensure that we have the most competitive workforce across the globe. So could you explain your budget and why you viewed this as a priority, and your view of the Republican efforts to diminish support for students, and how it will hurt our national goal of supporting an educated workforce that can outcompete others?
And I ask you to explain that in 6 seconds. Otherwise, give the rest in writing, please.
We think Pell Grants are an enormously important program. We've taken the tough steps in this budget to pay for it. And when you look at where some of the increases in spending since 2008 now are, Pell Grants is one of the biggest, and we think it's one of the best investments we can make in our future.
Look,